Welcome to the Wellness Warehouse podcast. I'm your host, Tara Nee, or as I'm known to many, Coach Teeny. This is a podcast that discusses several aspects of mental health, total body wellness, the benefits of having a good support system, and so much more. As a certified professional, I will help you find solutions to common stressors while unpacking your past traumas and helping you form new behaviors, positive behaviors. Can I ask a quick favor of you? If you love the show and it's helped you, can you please consider leaving it a rating or a review? It really helps give the show traction and allows me to keep supporting others and doing what I love. You can tag the show on Instagram at Wellness Warehouse Podcast, or you can tag myself, Coach Teeny, and I greatly appreciate your love and support. Thanks so much. Now let's get on to our episode. Episode 8, starting a new job or quitting a job. As our country begins to regain health, we find some normalcy. Starting a new job could be quite common for many of you. The past 18 months has really felt like a reboot to me, the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. I think starting a job or even maybe starting your own new business can be really fun and exciting, but of course, it's also going to be full of a lot of unpredictable things. Even a little bit of stress at the start of a new job is to be expected. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. Um, Short-term stress can get you energized, and a little extra energy your first couple of weeks can really help you be excited to get there. And that's good stress that I'm talking about. But I wanted to give you 5 little tips if you are starting a new job, just to help you get acclimated to your new work environment. So if you're starting your own business, um, it's obviously very exciting and there's so much work that needs to be done. So, careful planning is definitely something I would recommend. I shared on one of my old podcasts, I shared about an hour and a half of content on how to develop your own business plan, all of the different aspects you need, your marketing plan, your financial plan, your research, just how to develop all of that. And it's definitely a lot of content. So if you're interested, if you are starting a new business and you're interested, or maybe thinking about starting a new business, thinking about quitting your job and moving into entrepreneurship, please send me a private message on Instagram, on my Wellness Warehouse podcast, or you can email me at tara@coachteeny.com. And I believe our Wellness Warehouse podcast has an email, but I don't remember what that is right now. But please, I would be happy to share that information with you. I'm not going to include it here because it is a lot of content. But and if you are starting your own business, congrats to you. Entrepreneurship isn't an easy thing, and there's a lot of stress that comes with it. But just remember, you have a whole entire support team out there. Every client, every friend, every family member is out there ready to support you, to buy from you, to come and see you perform, whatever it may be that you are starting. So, and as a certified life coach, as a encourager of health and wellness, I encourage you to really, follow your heart. Go if this is a dream of yours, go for it. Just make sure you put a lot of careful planning into it. As fun as it is to start a new business, I know I've had a few and I've learned a lot along the way. Careful planning is really good, and with a really detailed business plan, there are many grants out there, especially for women-owned businesses or rural businesses or minority-owned businesses. Many grants out there that you don't have to pay back. But with a solid business plan, the Small Business Administration, the SBA.gov, which I talk about in that content, has many programs, loan programs as well for you to finance your entire endeavor. So there are really limitless options. So if you're heading out there and starting a new business, you have my support and congrats. If you're starting a new job, say in an office or out on a job site, I'm going to give you a few little tips, and these can also be applied to entrepreneurship, but more helping you get acclimated to a new working environment as a W 2 wage earner. So the first one is to view all your coworkers as a support team. So when we enter into a new job, I think it's very difficult because we don't know anyone. Or maybe you do. Maybe you know one person. Maybe it was your friend that offered you an opportunity to apply, and or asked you to come to their company. So maybe you know one person, but when we don't know other people, sometimes we put up our guard, and I think we don't see other people as helpful. We see them as what's the best way to say? We see them as sometimes as a threat, or just sometimes as just not helpful. So we don't look to them for support. We rely on ourselves. We don't want someone to think the new person doesn't know how to do their job. So, although you may not connect with everyone, you're going to have something in common with all of them. And I'm going to bet that your company has worked really hard to support and create an environment where all of its employees feel like teammates. I mean, at least I hope so. I hope that's the company that you would choose to work for. So, really, don't be afraid to reach out and think of your coworkers as a support team. Don't be afraid to ask for that help from them, or from leadership, or from management. Even just asking for direction or support. Where's the lunchroom? That's a valid question. We all need to eat. So, from coworkers to management to even your life coach, you can find support from at least one person to help you as you progress through whatever task you're trying to accomplish. And then number three, avoid office workplace theatrics and politics. We all know where this behavior leads, don't we? I think anyone, I don't think anyone ever wants to get wrapped up in this soap opera, but sometimes we do get dragged into it. Remember, you have the power and the courage to kindly say, I'm sorry, I have no comment. Or please don't include my name in your conversations. Say that kindly and say it with a smile. I'm sorry, I have no comment. Please don't include me in your name conversations. Thanks. That really makes me feel uncomfortable. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave that out, please. Thank you. Um, Say it kindly, say it with a smile, and make it come from your heart. I believe it's really important to set this healthy boundary from day one, for it to really stick. You might not make a lot of friends right away with this boundary. I'm sure you might even be called a Karen. I've been called a Karen before just for standing up for myself and, wanting to have things done the way that they're supposed to be done, or, you know, asking someone to drive the speed limit, which is a law. I've been called a Karen and said I need to get out of the way. So, you're not always going to make friends. Not everyone's going to love what you have to say, but setting that healthy boundary, I promise you, you will earn respect from those around you. Maybe not from the person you told that to, but from others, with because you handled this topic with such grace and wisdom and self-respect. So there's that. Don't forget to breathe and take those micro breaks, like we've talked about. If you've been listening to this podcast, at least for the last few episodes or from the beginning, you know that we've talked a little bit about micro breaks, what they are, and how helpful they can be. They really help you refresh your perspective and calm your thoughts. So, if you need to take a micro break, that's just a trip to the bathroom for 3 to 5 minutes. That micro break can be very important to kind of break in the day and just really help you regain a little bit more confidence and calm your thoughts. And then, last but not least, maintain your work and home life balance. Try to find normalcy in your routine outside work. Stick with common schedules and outings, daily meditation, exercise, anything that you were doing in an old position that you're now going to be doing in your new position. Um, Outside of work, keep the same regiment. Sometimes starting a new job can feel exhausting, or maybe you're doing something more physical than you were doing in your previous job. So if you can try to find that normalcy in your routine outside of work, I think that really helps you acclimate faster to the new position. And I just have faith that your new journey is going to be fun and exciting and full of growth for you. So again, I'm really excited for you. I hope those tips are helpful. Um, Stress, we all know stress is just such inevitable things sometimes, but I think if we're equipped with the right tools on how to handle stress, it really makes it a lot easier for us. So let's talk a little bit now about leaving or quitting a job. This one can be a little more stressful as your future sometimes depends on how you exit. So, have any of you heard of the term rage quitting? It seems to be more popular over the last, I don't know, 12 to 18 months. And unfortunately, it isn't recommended, at least not by me, isn't a recommended way to part with your employer. However, I can see why some individuals use this form of separation. It's very emotionally charged and usually backed by months or years or even decades of feelings that just have been left unattended. There are several articles on the internet. You can just Google rage quitting or rage quit. And they discuss in depth why this is happening, how the pandemic affected like our local and global economies, why companies are changing their business model and policies. I know the Black Lives Matter movement really made a huge impact on many businesses. And so they are changing a lot of the models and policies, and for good reasons. However, the effects as they trickle down really can um, change positions, change policies for people to ways that they don't like. So, anyways, the list goes on. Many companies are really struggling to stay above water as they're emerging from this pandemic as well. So let's give them a little grace there. They face many challenges that sometimes just trickle down to the best employees, and it, there's just really nothing we can do about it. We all just have to know that we're in this together. And if you're working for a company that doesn't value you or your time and doesn't respect you, then maybe it is time to find someone else out there, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands of employers seeking good, hardworking, honest, trustworthy, dependable workers and employees. And if you are that person, I know that the company is looking for you. So, why do people rage quit? Is it just stress? Those were a couple of questions I asked myself as I was composing this podcast for you today. And I believe no, it's not just stress. I believe it's a collaboration of the events of 2020 and, of course, the company's ability to stay financially well while it's providing for its people. In some cases, it's just not possible to do both. Like I was just saying, um, there's been a lot of programs out there over the pandemic that have helped companies, including my own, stay financially well. There's been pandemic unemployment insurance for us here in Washington State. And I don't know where you're listening from, but maybe it's not the same in your state, but there have been unemployment benefits on a countrywide level, federal level. And there have been things like the PPP loan, Paycheck Protection Loan, which I know has helped my cousin's bar stay afloat. I mean, there's also, I think, like a restaurant grant. There's several things out there, federally backed funds that have helped companies. But at the same time, when you think about these smaller companies, if you work for a smaller company, something more local, they are struggling. A friend of mine, Dan Price, he owns a company called Gravity Payments out of Seattle, and they're an amazing company, and he is an amazing person. If you haven't had a chance to check him out, please check him out. I believe he's on all the social media channels. He's been on the cover of INC magazine, did an interview with Katie Couric a few years ago when he decided to pay all of his employees $70,000 a year. So take a look at him. I'm not going to get into that too much right now, but his name is Dan Price. And just look at some of the information that he offers on his social media, some of the things he discusses, topics he discusses about our economy and how to treat employees. And I think you guys will be really excited about who he is and about what he stands for. So um, it's always the choice of the employee to stay or go. In states like this, mine here in Washington State, we have what we call a right to work law that allows the employer or the employee to separate from each other without notice and without reason. So walking out on your job is just never showing back up is actually considered rage quitting, but is also a legal option here in the state of Washington. So is cursing out your boss in his office or cleaning out your desk or cursing out your boss in his office and cleaning out your desk or walking off the job site with your middle finger in the air, right? Again, all of these are emotionally charged and high stress situations and will usually come from just not paying attention to those signs, not just leaving our feelings unattended for far too long. So, my goal here was to help you avoid rage quitting and help you discover what really brings you happiness. Again, we've I feel like the world is just had a reset and there are so many new openings and opportunities that are now available. Um, there are so many employers out there seeking employees, good employees like you. So to discover what makes you happy, making a list of pros and cons, and I'll get into that list actually here in just a second. But um, you know, the world is your oyster. If you need a quote, opportunity is knocking. Will you answer? So here's my 5 recommendations I have for you if you're looking to leave your current job. So number 1 would make that list of pros and cons of your current job. Ask yourself why you started this job. What interests you about it in the first place? And could you possibly find that spark again? Is there somewhere you could transition to within the company that maybe you'd be happier at? Those are all really great questions to ask yourself as you're making this list of pros and cons of your current job. Um, when you've decided to leave, you do want to keep quiet. You don't want to discuss your plans to quit with your coworkers. You want to quit in person. Don't quit by email or phone. Um, and you could even before that, even before you've decided to leave, after you've made that list of your pros and cons, you could talk with your manager or your boss and tell them how you're feeling. Let them know your list of cons in a constructive manner. It may or may not help, but it's always worth a try. And once you've decided to leave, like I said, keep quiet, don't tell coworkers, and please seek employment only outside of work, never from a work computer, laptop, or your phone, a handheld device, anything on your lunch break. Um, unless, of course, maybe you're sitting in your car. But even then, sometimes we have our phones at our desk and we receive an email from a company and a coworker standing next to us at our desk. There's just so many other options or scenarios, I should say, where someone could see that you're seeking new employment and they may see that as a threat. So, lastly, you schedule a meeting with your manager or boss leadership, whoever it is that hired you or that you would want to talk to when you give your notice. Give them a typed letter of resignation. And in that letter, detail your gratitude for the opportunity you had working for them, even if you don't feel that way. Talk about your accomplishments, talk about how you've grown with them. And if you're so upset with the company or if you feel so mistreated, if you're in a negative place where it's hard, you're going to want to try to find some perspective on a positive note. And maybe you could even Google resignation letters or something and find out what is best to say in that situation. Um, but I know what's always worked best for me is just detailing the gratitude I had for the opportunity of working for that company, talking about some of the accomplishments that I had, and how I had grown with them, which also shows how I'd grown with them because of their support, and also maybe how I had grown with them because I didn't have their support. So you might even find an opportunity to show some constructive criticism in that letter of resignation, but doing so on a very mature and honest level that can be respected. So I know it seems daunting and unnecessary. You could just walk in and say, "Hey, I'm leaving. I got a new job. I'll leave it in 2 weeks." But typically, exit interviews, um, once the manager or boss knows it's an exit interview, giving that typed letter allows them to have it on file. I believe there's something legal that they may have to keep it on file, but it also gives you a letter as well and boosts that self confidence. Excuse me, I have to take a drink here. Uh, Allergies haven't been great. I so apologize for that. But it gives you the opportunity to look back on that letter too and reflect and say, because once the emotions are gone after you leave this company, once those negative emotions are gone, or the emotions that you maybe weren't happy with, you'll look back and reflect and you'll remember a lot of the good things. And so when you see this letter, it will just help you have more self confidence in who you are. And it shows, grace and maturity and honesty. So, it's also evidence of your commitment to your work. So there's that. And that was my last in the list of 5. Just doing those things. That's just some advice that I can give you, or some encouragement I hope to give you. So I know we've talked in depth about stress and triggers and the effects prolonged stress has on your mind and body. But let me remind you that stress typically originates from things like being under constant pressure, facing big changes, worry, not having much control or outcome of a situation, having responsibilities that you find overwhelming, not having enough work, having too much work, activities or change in your life, and times of uncertainty. So, how do we combat all of that list of things? Because those cause stress. So, the opposite of uncertain is certain. So, times of uncertainty, there will always be things that we don't know, but with careful planning, with consideration, we can have control over our situations. We can plan for the unexpected. If we find responsibilities overwhelming, we can sit down and learn how to find balance, right? I think we did an episode on that, or I've talked a little bit about that with you. And please feel free to reach out to me on that, because I believe I have a couple old episodes from my last podcast that have some great content as well. Um, I'm just going to check on our time here really quick. We're doing just fine. Okay. Sorry about that. Um, so yeah, um, having a not having enough work, having too much work. Again, if you don't have enough work, you can always ask for work. Really, I don't think not having enough work causes stress unless you are unemployed. That can be very stressful, is not having any work. And especially not receiving any type of compensation from unemployment with not having work. That can be very, very stressful. So looking for work can be stressful too, or daunting, can seem daunting. 500 applications and one call back. But I don't think that we're really in that economy right now. I think there are many companies and businesses out there that are eager to see what you have on that resume and are eager to meet with you. And I think a lot of companies now that are changing their policies and procedures are doing so in a way that welcomes who you are as a person. I think there's going to be a lot of changes coming forth in the next 2 to 5 years with companies. And I think we're all going to find jobs that make us happy and that fit who we are. And I hope that many more companies follow suit and really start hiring um, employees that fit their business model, but also have the same morals and values. Because I think that's what's gonna have longevity in a company, um, is finding an employee that has your same morals and values. I know for me, I like to work with people that understand me or get me, vibe with me, and who have my same morals and values, want the same things that I do. I know that's somebody that, again, if you're vibing with them, that you're gonna have a really long, healthy relationship. So you can eliminate many of the factors by staying calm and planning. That's what I was just saying. Having patience and gratitude will really serve you in these times. So that's pretty much all I had for today. I hope I've given you or left you with a little bit of encouragement or wisdom in starting a new job or quitting a job. And please don't rage quit. Please don't rage quit. I'm only saying that for your benefit, not for your companies. I don't know who they are, but um, I know that it's not a very graceful or beautiful thing, and I think it's something that we might look back on. And although we should not carry guilt and shame with us, it can be something that we might wish we had never done. And I can't say, and I won't admit that I've ever rage quitted, but in my younger years, I have just walked out on a job, and maybe that's what they consider rage quitting these days. But um, 25 years ago, things were a lot different than they are today. But, anyways, well, I hope I left you with some great content. And again, I really appreciate you. Thank you for listening. I'm just going to take this moment really quick to apologize for not posting last weekend or last Monday. It was July 5th, the day after 4th of July. Many of us took holidays, including myself. And I was also in a car accident the prior Monday after recording that episode. Just a few hours after recording that episode, I was driving and was sideswiped. And so my car's in the shop. I'm fine. My passenger, who was my daughter, was fine. But those little things right before our vacation and our time off, I honestly had forgot to pre-record. And so I apologize that there was nothing there for you. But hopefully, again, this content you will find helpful and you will forgive me for that. And I will continue to post these podcasts every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I hope you will continue to listen. Again, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Wellness Warehouse podcast. Love you, appreciate you. Until next time.